Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of WP Product Talk. Today we want to talk about the magic that we've all been promised. AI is supposed to solve things for us, right? Not just be like another tool that we tinker with and lose endless hours just being like, oh, how cool that it can respond to me. We want it to actually like fix websites. Can it do that? We want it to actually like fix customer problems. Can it do that? We keep saying that it most likely can. We know that it fixes things for us individually. Can it do that at scale? Can it do that at GoDaddy? We have a guest today who's going to talk with us all about that. So stay tuned. This is WP Product Talk, a place where every week we bring you insights, product marketing, business management and growth, customer experience, product development, and more. It's your go-to podcast for WordPress product owners by WordPress product owners. And now, enjoy the show. Hey everybody, I am Matt Cromwell, founder of Roots and Fruit.
And I'm Ian Meisner with Kestrel.
And before we get started, we're on a road to hit as many subscribers as we possibly can. We actually have been doing this for a little while, and you all have been great and helpful and amazing. But the truth is, the easiest way for you to help WP Product Talk to continue to bring this great, excellent content for you is to hit subscribe or follow or subscribe or like or reshare or any of those social things on any of the platforms that we exist on today. It's free for you, and it helps us out a ton.
Yeah, actually, go to the LinkedIn page and like that real quick, actually, specifically. Don't ask questions.
That would be a good one.
Huge thanks to Freemius, though, for being our growth partner on this. Freemius helps software makers grow, monetize, and succeed. Merchant of record platform, so they handle everything, right? So check out payments, subscriptions, licensing, updates, global tax compliance. They let you build your product instead of building the way to sell your product.
Cool. All right. Well, let's jump into the subject of AI support troubleshooting. For this, we invited Drew Wilde from GoDaddy. And Drew, hey, welcome. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Ian, for having me.
Absolutely. Can you introduce yourself to everybody for us?
Absolutely. My name is Drew Wilde. I am the product manager of record on managed hosting for WordPress at GoDaddy. Historically, I've also been at Bluehost doing similar things with shared hosting on the cPanel platform there. And yeah, I've been involved in the community now for WordPress for some time. And I think probably coming up on 15 years, which is a long time for me. Certainly others have been around longer, but I've been happy to be a part of the community. I'm repping WordCamp US 2025.
Nice.
Yeah. Probably the last time I saw anybody in person. Happy to be on here on the podcast today.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. And thanks again for coming on. And for anyone who's watching live right now, YouTube, Twitter, wherever, leave comments, questions, feedback in the comment section here for Drew. We'll highlight them and add them as we discuss live on the show.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about it. I am a support person and have been chasing the dream of being able to see teams solve things with AI. Ian is a support person who loves giving his team a hard time and running after them and seeing them do more. Drew, tell us a little bit about your background at GoDaddy and how you got yourself involved with this whole AI and support thing.
Absolutely. So when I first started out at Bluehost, I was on the phones. And when you're on the phones and you're talking to customers, and at the time it was like, you got a one-click WordPress install. People are calling because they've got issues with their WordPress sites. And so that's always been something that anybody that's helped customers with their WordPress site, you kind of have your troubleshooting patterns. You kind of figure out what do you need in order to help triage the issues. You kind of learn what things are more common than not. As I came over to GoDaddy as a product manager on the managed hosting for WordPress product, now you have that problem at scale. You just say, okay, great. Yeah, we have this many 100,000 sites. How many are down at any given point in time? And that's like a pain point. As somebody who cares about the customer experience and cares about customers getting the value out of their product, any downtime feels like it just gets to me.
Yeah.
And I know Ian feels the same way. We had some overlap time at GoDaddy, and those, just accepting any kind of fault in performances, it's something that we just want to kind of get rid of as much as possible.
Yeah.
And we felt like AI was certainly the way to try to get to it more at scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the managed part, right? It's the
Yes,
really
managed part.
the commitment of what that is intended to mean, and what I think that your team at GoDaddy has really been striving to make sure that that means what people assume it means.
Up in the standard.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I have always been excited about AI as almost like a team member on the support team, with the hope and the dream that like we won't have to be having people staffing the inbox through the wee hours of midnight to 6 a.m. All the time, because AI can help on those fronts. Was that a little bit of the motivation too?
Certainly. And and what the reality is, and as we work with our support partners, and like a lot of this comes through kind of our tier 2 or some of our kind of like upper level support partners that are really like just really great WordPress minds, WordPress troubleshooting minds. It's not like we're trying to eliminate the job function at all. But there's so many menial tasks, so many tiny things that take up time
Yeah.
in that support process that we wanted to kind of get to. And it's like we did some research, as we're kind of building the business case for AI site troubleshooter for WordPress, and kind of we were looking at it, and it's like you're kind of, if you get a WordPress site in the door and you don't know why it's down and you don't have any information, that's about a 45-minute at a minimum time commitment to get to a point where you can say, oh, now I know I can get that site back up and live. And so that 45 minutes is either a really long and painful phone call, perhaps, or it's, if nobody notices, even that could be, that downtime could stretch into, a lot longer for a customer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is sensitivity though around the concept for a lot of customers, especially those that are, brick and mortar business owners who aren't living their day to day in Claude. And AI more and more just sounds like this like Big Brother situation.
Kind of the big bad wolf sometimes.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about like what did you all do to navigate expectations or anxieties or fears that your customer base might have had around saying, "Hey, we're gonna have AI check out your sites all the time." Like, how did that go?
Yeah, and I'll kind of dig into a little bit of that kind of life cycle there, because we originally this was really our first agent build at GoDaddy. This was years ago that we started, building this, and we had just kind of come out of generative content, and everybody was getting great blog posts written with AI. And then there was kind of this point where it was like, well, okay, we're kind of reaching the end of this rope. But then this, the agent mentality came on. Okay, yeah, we can actually have AI do things on behalf of a customer. And so we jumped into it technology first, really excited about what this technology could do. And, kind of had like a really kind of cool opportunity, being at GoDaddy, still being the first ones to kind of jump into this as an agent for the WordPress team. So we're like, okay, great. This is really cool. We've got a lot of WordPress sites, big opportunity size for us here. WordPress sites can break in, I don't know how many ways, we still learn about the new ways that WordPress site can break.
An infinite number of ways, Drew.
Exactly. And so we're like, maybe we can start to create an agent that can kind of decompose that a little bit.
It's an interesting opportunity for GoDaddy in particular. It's like the weird thing, like the uncommon things happen at scale, right? Like you guys have so many sites that even things that a lot of the audience here might dismiss as like normal, not that big deal. You guys see it hundreds of times versus one for most people. So
one in in the lifetime. But we're seeing a lot of things across all of our WordPress sites. Big impact zone for us. So we wanted to kind of get into that. And as we were kind of like, okay, we're kind of like demoing this, we're testing this. Okay, now I'm starting to reach out to pros. I'm starting to reach out to people about, what this is offering. I wanted to understand how pros are currently, what is all the workflows of a pro in order to troubleshoot a site? Okay, how can we train, some agent skills in order to do the same thing? So we're kind of digging into that. And then obviously that kind of comes up about like, well, what's the market opportunity for this?
Yeah.
Like, how are we going to, like, I'm not, it's like, okay, great. Yeah. It's like we AI troubleshooting right on your site. Or, we say, hey, yeah, like GoDaddy's always watching.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a second. That's not perhaps the thing that's going to resonate.
I mean, that does sound a little off, but I mean, sometimes the GoDaddy customer may not always be the typical WordPress customer also, right?
Yeah.
Like you get a lot of like Main Street businesses and
get
like
a ton of just SMBs. Yeah.
outside of the community and that, where, I mean, the value of just like, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but like a lot of those customers, they don't necessarily care that it's WordPress. They just want their thing to just keep working and do, so,
Exactly.
if you make it easier to keep that happening, again, there's like an efficiency thing here, but also from like a managed hosting product, like your uptime's a measure that you're paying attention to, right?
And that's really kind of the crux of it. It was like, well, if we're providing this value of something's broken on my site, I'm not getting the site as I normally would expect, there's some kind of downtime event occurring. And so to frame it as essentially an insurance policy for your site, hey, like this AI site troubleshooter or this feature, we called it site uptime premium, in certain contexts, which means that not only are we watching your site uptime, but then when we detect an event, like a downtime event, we can say, hey, we have the steps for you to fix it, or we have a fix ready for you. You just got to click a button, we'll fix it. And maybe even if you want to, and you trust us enough, because we've done it for you a couple times by now, maybe we'll fix it and we'll just send you the email. Hey, we detected a downtime event. And then you get that second email just minutes later, everything's back up and running.
And so you have this sort of like default, like it's a warning system, but there is an opt-in then for like just
Absolutely.
trust us.
Yeah. So, and that's the case. And so we work with a lot of obviously Main Street businesses and a lot of pros, like a lot of like web pros managing sites for their clients. And one of the great use cases we feel like was for this is like, I'm a pro. I wrote this whole like this whole story for the business case, which was like, I'm a web pro, I'm a WordPress pro, and I'm on a customer call trying to get a new site built. It's a big monetization opportunity for me and my agency. I get a text message from a different client that the site's down.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Do I leave the opportunity to grow the business in order to fix the current site? What can I do? And so it's like this pain point of a pro that I kind of tried to illustrate. Talking with other people, I was like, this resonates with folks. And so then the fix is, with Site Uptime Premium or the AI Site Troubleshooter, I'm on the phone call, getting new business. Everything's going great. I get a text message, not from my client that the site's down, but from GoDaddy saying, we detected a downtime event and we fixed it. And it's like, okay, great. I read that message. I put it away. Maybe I just got on my watch. Okay, great. Yeah. I detected the downtime event. I fixed it. Maybe I'll go look at the remediation steps that it took and I figure out why it was like that in the future. But I can stay locked in on my new business opportunity as a web pro in order to keep my business growing, knowing that my current customers are being taken care of by monitors and agents that know what to do in certain cases with appropriate guardrails to drive the customer outcomes that they want, which are increased site uptime.
There's a couple things there I really love that I want to highlight super quick. The way that you frame that is something I think a lot of our folks really need to pick up on more and more. I've been talking about a lot lately. You frame that as what is the customer job to be done right then. And so many times we think of our products as tools or features. And we're like, don't you want this feature? Don't you want this thing that we do? Yeah. And instead of just like putting ourselves in the customer's shoe and being like, what in the world are they actually just trying to accomplish? It doesn't have anything to do with your product or your plugin. They're on a call with another client. They're not even thinking about you. But then all of a sudden, the website becomes a problem in one way or another. I love that, thinking about it in that way in particular. The other one I love is a thing that I've talked with a lot of folks about is folks who are trying to adopt AI as a benefit in one way or another, they keep saying like, well, what can AI do? How do I think about it? You're thinking specifically about a workflow that your team has been doing all the time. Like they constantly have been dealing with site uptime things and were previously doing them in very manual ways. You just thought about like, don't we think that AI can help us do that a lot faster and a lot better and actually make the load of the team actually easier and lighter, actually get to resolution a lot quicker, potentially, ideally, hopefully.
Well, that kind of does lead me to a bit of a question there, though, which is like, I mean, a lot of the, again, at the scale of GoDaddy, you have a top 5 like support drivers list, and you always knew what those were, and you could just use code to solve them back before, right? Now, like, what's the AI doing, like at the scale of your company, like for you as a product manager? What's the AI doing that you couldn't have done before? Like, do you have any examples of like specific types of things
Yes,
that it fixes?
and I think that there were this idea of like like a script could go out there and fix all the sites that have this plugin that broke in this way, or we could like and those kinds of things, like we certainly can do, but now we kind of have one tool that we can kind of set along things, and we can kind of train it to do additional things. Like it's not one thing forever, but the skills that we've built into the AI site troubleshooter, kind of we start with the logs, we start with the data on the site. Okay, great. We're your host, we're your managed host. You trust us enough to do that. We understand that we get a lot of data in on every kind of site interaction. We start with that. We get all of the logs in and we feed that to the agent in order to create a remediation plan. And the remediation plan then is able to cycle through a few different kind of common use cases that we understand could be a problem with the site. And it kind of like has its kind of recursive logic in order to create a remediation plan that it has a high confidence in would restore site uptime. And after the site has the remediation plan, the option to kind of run an Autofix or not kind of is available. And kind of like to kind of answer the question about like, well, why don't we just kind of like, we could fix it with code, we could do, X, Y, or Z there. The idea that we don't know why it might break in the future kind of helps us to say, hey, yeah, this is a sustainable platform for us to kind of build off of in the future. And it can actually help maybe inform us, not reactively, but proactively. Hey, we're actually seeing more sites broken in this way, or we're seeing these errors and our remediation plans are not fixing it in the way that we think it should. And then we can kind of go in there and invest in, okay, what is a new agent skill? Or maybe we got to adjust a guardrail here or there, or add additional functionality for the agent in order to kind of fix it. And so the way that we then apply the fixes to the site is, we use, again, we're your hosting provider. So we have SSH access and WPCLI access to the site, and we can run the appropriate remediation steps necessary in order to fix it. I've got a demo queued up that we can kind of take a look at where I
I definitely would love to see a demo. I mean, I got like 5 or 6 follow-up questions. I'm going to lead with Marcus's here, though, actually, because it's very in line with where I'm thinking too. So a site being back up may not mean that the store checkout's working again, I guess is an example, right? How do you confirm the agent actually fixed all the things instead of just the site?
And to be quite honest, it doesn't have all of that power yet. We don't give it access to fix everything on the site. We're actually looking at a few different tools. And so this particular site uptime, the AI site troubleshooter that we have, is primarily focused on restoring site uptime. So we focus on downtime events and restoring site uptime. Again, Marcus, to your point, excellent point. Yeah, like that's not going to fix your checkout, or maybe I'm still getting like issues on visual aspects of the site. We might have to lean in on that. We don't have the agent that fully built out to do all that, but totally agree that that's like another use case for us to dig into.
But ideally, the fact that the agent is doing this work probably when the support team is occupied somewhere else, and then it is able to bring up and say like, oh, this uptime issue happened. I responded. The customer said, bring it back up for me. I did it. Here's the results. The support team, maybe by that time, I'd be able to like just at least quickly audit what's going on, and it expedites their time essentially, ideally, and they'd be able to actually check the checkout in a more human manual way, which might be more effective actually.
And I mean, it's sort of like a fancy logging layer of the remediation steps, right? And I think actually, before diving into too many more questions, I would love to see that demo actually.
Yeah.
Because I think that might help contextualize some of this a little bit.
I'm going to show the manual remediation aspect because to be quite honest, when it's like we've struggled demoing this in the past in a couple of different ways, because it's like we're going to create downtime on a site, create downtime. It's now did you see it?
Yeah, I mean, trying to do a demo of a memberships plugin, trust me, it hides stuff instead of displaying anything, right? So yeah.
Look, you can't see it. That's exactly what you're supposed to not see, right?
You're going to see a little bit of like the GoDaddy backend. Like obviously that's not going to be like the customer experience, but I'm going to highlight a little bit about what it does and kind of show you, okay, yeah, this part can be automated. Okay. I got to get to my tab here. Are we seeing my screen?
Bringing it up right now. There we go. Maybe zoom in a lot.
Okay.
You can.
Uh-huh. Okay, great. You're seeing my WP admin?
Yep.
Okay. This is my WP admin for my Drew's horse petting website that I made with Arrow for WordPress, another agent AI product that we have. One plugin that I wrote for this site is a fatal error test plugin.
I've done that before.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to activate my fatal error test plugin. And okay, wow. Okay, now I've got some kind of downtime event. Now this is the backend. Now, like this is like as if I'm a GoDaddy agent, right? I'm going to share it to a different tab here, and you're going to see that this is kind of like what we call your managed WordPress. Like, oh, your site is live. Let me like refresh this. It's going to start to detect that maybe not everything's not okay with my site. This might take a second or two. But the idea is like, okay, a customer calls in, they got some kind of downtime, they've got their fatal error, and then they've probably got some now idea that they should go in and talk to their site. Okay, great. AI Site Trouble says, hey, this site appears to be down. Okay, great. Our agent has already, at this point in time, created a troubleshooting plan or the site remediation plan. So, okay, great. Let's go ahead and click into it. Okay, yeah, okay. Now it's going to go through the evidence. It's going through the logs. What happened on the site? What's going on here?
I hope it says something like, don't activate a plugin that says fatal error generator. Like, you dummy.
Yeah.
That's what I would like it to say.
Yeah, and you'll see it's like, yeah, once it kind of goes through and it learns why the site is broken, it'll be like, we think it's this fatal site error plugin.
I mean, I would love to see how you guys do frame up problem plugins here. I mean, both on an individual. I mean, as a team that sells plugins, I would love to know what one of the biggest hosts in the world are showing people about problems,
Yeah.
Yes. So it's like we identify a problem with the plugin and then, okay, great. So it says, hey, here's Arrow's plan fix for your site. We got high confidence in this particular plan. Here's the remediation plan caused by the fatal error plugin, and it's calling an undefined function. So it's like, that's what I wrote the plugin to do. It deletes it. So it's not even available on the WordPress.org. So it's like trying to like reason with this. So you can't update it because a lot of times we'll just say, hey, well, if we update it, will that fix it? That's part of a remediation plan. And then it's like, okay, great. Cannot be reinstalled. Okay, the only thing that we really have is if you deactivate this plugin. And so the remediation plan, fairly simple at this point. Great. Okay, great. And then it's like, do you want us to do it? Now this then goes out and does the remediation plan. I will say that the guardrails are on the remediation plan. There's not like, we take a backup of the site, we run our remediation plan, we confirm 200 response code or some kind of like, okay, great. Are we getting the site response back as we did before? If we don't get that, we revert back to the known broken. We don't leave new broken in place. So we want to make sure that we're kind of doing our part here. So I'll go ahead and auto fix at this point, and then we'll kind of run that. Great. It's queuing it up. running the remediation plan. And again, this is the part that could be automated. We have in the customer experience for the managed hosting for WordPress packages that, have this particular premium site uptime, auto site the site troubleshooter. You can either say, yes, I just want to see the remediation plans, or you can say, yeah, and you can auto fix it. If you want to click the button every time, we'll let you click the button every time, but certainly something that, that we want to make sure people have access to. So auto fix in progress, deactivating my plug.
And most likely it's doing that through WP CLI.
Yeah. So obviously when we were like working on this site or on this product, it's like, well, okay, great. Like we want to fix WordPress sites, but the WordPress site is broken when we want to fix it. And so, yeah, we use SSH and the WP CLI kind of in order to insert the right fixes at any given point in time. So that's why it's like really great. Hey, autofix completed successfully. Your issues have been resolved. Well, I say, prove it. Hey, the site is back. And that's the AI site troubleshooter.
We're still seeing we're not seeing your WordPress site yet. There it is.
And it's back. The error is gone. I refreshed.
Nice.
That's the quick demo.
I like it. We got some props here. Drew's a fantastic developer, very exclusive plugin. I think that's one of those like, you know, it does what it says on the tin kind of reviews, right? It creates a fatal error just as intended.
Probably not going to get it through the plugin review. You know what I mean?
Hey, I don't know why not. Like it says, it does exactly what it's supposed to do.
I did a quick search and I don't see any on there actually. So
maybe I could. Maybe I'll talk with you friends get it through.
No, that's great. And like even the way that the AI presented the case, I love that all those caveats. It's like, we'd love you to be able to just do an update to the plugin, but that's not possible.
Exactly.
All that kind of thing. So
how on the rails is that? Like, how much are you trusting the LLM, and how much, like, do we have just like a checklist running behind the scenes, or is it sending it off to like Claude, ChatGPT, something to, be creative about a solution?
There's some creativity in it. It's not like you can do plugin deactivations and this and this and this and that. It's like, but you could do a combo of those things, and that's where a little bit of the agent kind of logic comes in. Because yes, we don't give it like root access. It's like, and there's some things that it can't fix. Like it can't fix your DNS for you. We're not going to make any kind of changes on that for your site. This is WordPress code specific. Yeah. And so it obviously has some power. Like, okay, yeah, there's some of those kind of like PHP, like we'll let it change your PHP version. But yeah, like it's not going to be able to change any kind of records on your site.
Yeah.
Well, and the guardrails are there to certainly, help it, but we let it create a remediation plan that does have some elements of creativity or like comboing some of these things in order to restore site functionality.
Yeah. Interesting. A couple more comments here. Not that one, sorry. Nick McLaughlin is in the comments. He says, plugin check might be able to flag some issues there. That's an interesting one. I honestly have, the way that plugin has been evolving recently, and the more and more significant and important it's become to WordPress.org as a whole, I've been curious whether or not hosts might leverage that. It also has really good CLI support as well. But has that been discussed internally at all?
Yeah, because plugins tend to be kind of what plugins and PHP issues end up being kind of like a majority of what we see that we can remediate automatically fairly quickly for customers. So I will absolutely take that back to our AI site troubleshooter team.
Yeah,
help drive that feature functionality a little bit.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me plugins are one of the primary issues. That was one of my follow-up questions I mentioned earlier, right? Like anyone can add any code to any site. You got Main Street businesses, they have a problem. They Google it, they find whatever plugin, they install it. You've got, billions across your managed platform of just random code running everywhere.
That's a lot.
So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all. Are you guys tracking in any way, like, what plugins are like you have sort of like the data?
Yes, and that's what's really, I mean, I find it to be really cool and fascinating at this scale we can learn from the data in that way. And like and LLMs actually make that data pretty accessible in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so to say,
Yeah.
hey, like, we can learn, we're seeing issues from this kind of plugin. Now, one of the pushbacks that we've gotten from this product, and this is from a lot of like internal stakeholders, hey, why are we investing in this? Why don't we just not allow customers to break their sites? And I say, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. And it's like, we want to create an environment where customers can't break their site. Like, obviously, we want to do as much as possible there. But as a WordPress host, we don't want to just block plugins in order to fix our problems, because then we're limiting the extensibility and the reason why a lot of people come to WordPress in the first place, which is either one, there's a lot of plugins and they're free and they're great, or maybe there's some kind of altruistic thing. They're like, hey, I actually want it to be open source, and this is like the space that I feel like I can be online in the democratic way. And so, for us to say, yeah, and like, if you're on managed hosting for GoDaddy, like, your plugin, it'll get blocked and it'll never get off that list. Like, no, we don't want that. We work with plugin developers in order to make sure it's like, if we ever see any issues, great, yeah, let's jam on them, let's fix them.
Yeah.
In order to kind of like get out of that. Very few times do we have to kind of resort to our block list in order to resolve those kinds of things.
Yeah. Another good question from Marcus in the comments here. How granular are the Autofix options? Like, can I say, go ahead and update plugins automatically, but ask me to deactivate or delete anything? For example, like, instead of just a button, can you reply to the AI email and say, go ahead, but do X, Y, and Z, or something like that?
That's a feature roadmap item for us, because yes, that's absolutely something like that. We're like, okay, yeah, the granularity on some of those things make a lot of sense, especially for that pro use case.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just kind of like all or nothing on the auto fixes.
Yeah.
Certainly the direction that we would like to go to.
Feels like it would have to be something like you reply to the email and then the AI replies back to the same email saying, okay, well, here's the revised plan. Do you want that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that starts to be very, very agentic at that stage. Which is
like, I want it in my head. It's always been this idea of like, this is your kind of like your first line of defense as a web pro to issues that are coming up for your customer sites. And I don't want it to just be like site downtime in the future, but yeah, like, hey, like, I'm working with a customer and the spinner loads on their bookings page and it's like, it doesn't go away. Like, okay, great. Like, I would love for this agent to be able to say, hey, like, give us an opinion on why that is. It's like, oh, probably these caching related issues. It could provide some really quality opinions on that. I just have always wanted it to kind of be that first line of defense. And instead of email, even just be like, it pops open on your phone as like, hey, a conversation that you're texting, you're chatting with about, okay, yeah, we're detecting an issue. Okay, great. What's your plan, or what's your idea of that? Hey, can you go ahead and do that? Okay, great. Next time that comes up, just do that automatically.
Yeah.
And you already got my phone number somewhere in the account center, right? Kind of.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I do think this is very interesting, and I actually really liked what you said about not resorting to the block list, right? Because I mean, the framing that I often use to pitch WordPress to people, especially in the e-commerce thing, is like, it's not about what you can do today. It's about the fact that when you imagine the next thing, the answer is you can definitely do it. You don't have to have that question. So I think that's an interesting framing. Now, as far as you brought up like the web pros a few times though, right? So are you building this primarily with like that pro client use case in mind?
Certainly, at the time that we started building it, that was like our modus operandi to like try to get features to this audience. And so we really saw, and I wrote the use case in that voice of the, the web pro, and, we wanted to demo it to, different GoDaddy stakeholders in that way. As time has kind of gone on, and as we've kind of like, and as agentic builds have kind of like changed, and, kind of emerging trends with how people are kind of coming to managed hosting for WordPress or looking for different solutions to solve the same problem. My job to be done has certainly kind of narrowed back in on, well, how is this going to help somebody that just wants their site to work all of the time and they don't know how to, troubleshoot a WordPress site? How can I make troubleshooting a WordPress site available to them without really kind of getting any kind of technical knowledge in, into their workflow. So where it started with the Web Pro, primarily at the beginning, I've certainly shifted focus back onto that Main Street business.
Yeah, as you guys also recently launched like Arrow for WordPress, right? So like, the site builder, you're starting on you buy a WordPress site, you're in an AI builder, you end up with a website. Feels like a user that starts there, like they probably wouldn't, be concerned with you having this like AI agent paying attention, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And more we're seeing more people kind of come in and want to, like, I guess that there's certainly still a level of, I'm not going to say distrust, but just like that, like, I don't know if this is going to do what I want it to, but we're getting more and more people to be interested in trying AI tools in related to building their site.
Yeah. I really feel like the big value here, like if I'm pitching to my customer base, I'm GoDaddy, I've got tens of thousands of managed WordPress customers, but like, let's say I've got 1,000 customers on hosting, and they're all putting in tickets every day, more or less. If I can come to them and say, hey, if you opt into this service, you'll get uptime responses, uptime restoration responses in seconds, basically, or a minute, compared to 30 minutes. A support team is trying to act as fast as it can possibly act, but especially in like, the managed WordPress space, not the VPN space or VPS space, you know what I mean? Not like the top tier space. These folks are paying $30-$40 a month, not hundreds a month. You're going to respond in like 10 minutes, 15, 30 minutes, an hour, to an uptime issue, compared to the AI that can respond in minutes. To me, it's about like, if you really want this type of service, then you're gonna need the bots, honestly, to get that quickness. I don't know. Is that kind of the way you all think about it as well, or how you pitch it to them?
Certainly. I mean, that's part of the pitch for sure, is like, hey, yeah, like we can get to it before you notice it. For us, we don't want clients to notice downtime, like our customers to notice downtime and have to call support and say, hey, what's going on with my site?
Yeah.
Like, that's like, now that problem has now just become a bigger problem, and it's like, now it kind of enters our cost center.
Yeah.
And as a web pro, okay, great. I don't want my clients letting me know that they have downtime. I would like to be the one to notice the downtime.
Yeah.
And then say, oh, ideally, like maybe I don't even have to like contact them if it was a fix, or just you're driving that, that opportunity to say, hey, like, oh yeah, actually something broke on your site, but we fixed it. And that's the notification, not,
yeah.
hey,
What happens?
Client called when the site was down.
What happens when the uptime issue is actually specifically hosting related? What happens under those circumstances?
Yeah, that's when it's like our system saying, hey, like, great, like the AI site troubleshooter is like letting us know, like, well, actually we have some kind of cell issue. Like, there's nothing on the WordPress site that's down, but we have downtime. And that's when we're having our SRE team lean in immediately. Like, that's like, those are the, and GoDaddy has a really strong site reliability muscle that fixes those issues very timely. But yeah, obviously it's like, if we see that at scale, like we're monitoring site uptime across our whole, farm of sites when those hosting things specific come up. Yeah,
what does that AI agent do under those circumstances? Is it like triggered to be like, well, don't respond under those circumstances because we have a different system that does all of that?
The site uptime will still notify saying, hey, like we're working on fixing your site. It's not going to send the, hey, we fixed your site for you, notification that, in the ideal use case we get to send. But we certainly let the customer know, hey, we're working on the issue, we've identified it, and we'll let you know when it is fixed. And we obviously fix those in a timely manner. We don't see a lot of those, those kind of like bigger hosting issues.
And I don't know why I'm like pitching for GoDaddy at this point, but I will say, in my time when I was there, like the managed hosting team, like their internal commitments to uptime were much stricter than what's actually publicized.
Yes.
And like, it's taken pretty seriously also.
Yes, we have. And I will second. Obviously, I'm an inside bias voice, but yes, like that is I've been very impressed with the level of care that our platform and our site reliability team take on our platform, which is why this was such like a companion opportunity, because they can't fix those WordPress issues, in the way that they would
Right.
want to. They're like, hey, we have this downtime on this, like, it drives them
Well,
nuts.
that's why a plugin Blocklist already exists, basically, right? It's because that is like that's the dumb tool that this replaces, basically, right?
Mhm.
It's like a way to have a little bit of nuance automated into the machine, be part of the product. And it sounds a lot like you're really kind of blending, like the support part of the managed stack with the product piece, and extending further to what people used to have to handle, which is exactly what AI is supposed to be doing, right? Like it's actually, I'm vaguely excited by what you're doing here, mostly because it is, I mean, even in my own team, much smaller, obviously, we got a much, much, much smaller support volume, but like we have AI run through literally every conversation. We have notes before we get to them, like we
Exactly.
usually diagnose the problem before a person even looked at it. And, I have this thing where it's like, I'm not comfortable having it respond as a person for whatever reason, but I mean, it could, and it would be just fine. I don't even know vaguely. I mean, it's sort of like, the more you run through it, it's I can imagine how much more you could do with it even. And I guess maybe that's a question of like, how easy is it? Is it just the product team that updates it? Like, how do you get knowledge into this? And like, is your support team able to respond quickly to like new issues or whatever with it?
I think we have some room to improve on the feedback loops for sure. And it kind of sits, still in what it does for a time before we kind of lean back in and kind of make some more improvements to it.
Yeah.
If we had some recursive agent build that like fed itself, I think that you'd be talking about, something pretty special.
Yeah.
You often encounter technical difficulties when you're trying to build that kind of sophistication.
That's what I wanted to get into a little bit before we get into our best advice section is like, we all, like I said at the beginning, we all have this hope and this dream that AI is going to solve problems for us. And people are solving a lot of things in general, but can you go a little bit, Drew, into like, it's not as if you just turned this thing on.
No.
Like, this is infrastructure that you built. And even like, yes, of course, we have SSH, we have WP CLI available, but this isn't like OpenClaw for GoDaddy. You don't just like connect something to all these different endpoints and now all of a sudden all these folks have this ability. Like, this must have taken a lot of time and effort and engineering, and this is an infrastructure tool that you built over months, I'm assuming.
Yes, absolutely, and that's really, and it gets more complicated the more that you try to like really kind of hammer into it. So I will say that we were pretty early on trying to build this agent, and we had to go through security review. We're a publicly traded company, like we have responsibilities in order to make sure that the data that we're operating with is safe and used responsibly. And so to kind of go through all of this different certification on an agent in order to act on behalf of a customer on their live site, like, hey, like this is something that we wanted to make sure that we got right. And it certainly has quite a bit of structure to it. And even on the data on the back end side of it, to say, okay, great, now what are we learning? How are we surfacing that? So there's a whole kind of like data instrumentation piece to our troubleshooter as well that we lean into. But the fact of the matter, at the end of the day, when we turn this site on, we originally kind of like, we turn it on for 10,000 sites for the the package that we have for it. Those 10,000 sites over the course of time experience downtime events 10% less of the time, which for me at scale, massive number, massive win.
Huge.
Yeah. So it's like, then we can say, okay, yeah, what does that downtime cost of our customer? We can make a different kind of business case from that, but we saw what we needed to in order to make sure that we understood that this was a valuable tool for customers that we can get it to. It's not free, certainly not free, because it's like every remediation plan, token usage. Every site automation fix, token usage. So it's like, yeah, like we have a cost associated with this, but the value to the customers that either don't experience the downtime that they would have, certainly that value to them is worth that cost.
Yeah, but also like, I mean, the value of like your very frontline support agents being able to solve probably most issues with the click of a button. I don't even know how you would measure that. Do you measure that actually? But I mean, that's a huge number, whatever that translates to, though. I'm sure, right?
Yes.
Let's do that super quick though. Also, we've talked about AI and support a couple times on this show, and the subject that very often comes up is the sentiment around the support team themselves and whether or not they feel empowered by this tool or threatened by this tool. How are y'all navigating that reality? It's a reality. Support agents legitimately feel threatened by AI for real reasons. And there's a lot of folks who are also just like leveraging AI in really great ways to make their team feel more empowered. It's a double-edged sword, or maybe it's just two different weapons. I'm not sure.
I want to add too, before jumping in too much, is like at the scale of GoDaddy, this stresses me out even because like ultimately an individual can do 2, 3, 4 times as much work in support now than they could like a year ago even, right? Like that's just objectively true. I mean, I'm happy to hear arguments if anyone thinks I'm wrong, but I mean, it's not even, I mean, just the scale you're dealing with, there's sort of a, how do you feel about that? You know?
It's certainly nuanced, to be quite frank. And GoDaddy has, different, as things ebb and flow, different ideas around how to provide the best WordPress support in the industry. It's like, obviously we'd love to say we do the best WordPress support, but however, at times when we're in different cycles of our ebbs and flows, upsell opportunities are incredibly important to the sale, to the support reps that also have, these opportunities. And so the nuance that I will say is we had troubles getting our care agents to click this remediation, get a remediation plan, click to Autofix. Because once they have a workflow that they do, and we had easier buttons in that interface, I showed you quickly that there's like a few things like clear cache. There's a few things like reset and WP config. And sometimes those will do it. Sometimes they won't. But those are easier buttons to click that were already in their workflow that, hey, no, we're actually trying to do a different kind of thing with WordPress. Like this is more WordPress specific remediation. And they're like, maybe not my job. Maybe not my job. When in reality, it's like, hey, like you could actually build a little bit of customer trust, as a part of your customer workflow, and then kind of go into additional opportunities to help them grow their business. But yes, certainly had some trouble getting them to take it. I never heard specifically, hey, this is at risk of taking my job, but it's at risk of taking the time away from a conversation that could help make me more money as a rep on the phone.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was kind of what we combated more than, than the other things.
Yeah.
Which, that's the unfortunate truth sometimes. Like we're, and we have leaders right now that we're like, if you come in on a WordPress call, that is not a sale call. That is a WordPress support call. We fix their issues. And then if we create that opportunity to have a sale environment, great. But we really want to hammer WordPress support first. That's where we're kind of at in our process.
Great comment here also from Nick, who's also at GoDaddy, in the comments here. Our team, who's separate from Drew's, is measuring first response resolution % as a way to understand how our tooling is supporting our team. So essentially, if AI is proving to be an effective and valuable tool to the support team, then they should be able to measure that by seeing the first response resolution rate go up. Which in a hosting environment, I think that makes a lot of sense. In a support environment, I think it makes less sense. I am highly skeptical of anybody who can resolve a plugin ticket on the first response. Because there's just too much context that we don't have access to be able to resolve things reasonably in the first response. But
I would normally agree. It's with the tool that Drew's demoing, though, you do have access to 90% of what you need in that
we
case,
got it all.
actually. And it's like I normally would fully agree. And I will say it. So it sounds like, the framing that you kind of led with on that question. It's like it's not even just the first response resolution rate. Like you're probably resolving more also because they're if you get them to use the button, they're doing that and actually providing the service before attempting to move on to the next thing, basically.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
I want to jump into best advice as we wrap things up. But before I do that, I want to give a shout out to the folks in the comments. Honestly, the comment section to me is one of the things from the beginning of the show that I always thought like, I want to make sure that we have live comments on the show. And the truth is, we don't always have people who chime in. But today, all of y'all who chimed in, thank you so much. You added to the conversation in meaningful ways, and I appreciate it. So shout out to everybody out there. We end every show, Drew, with our best advice. And I'm not sure how to position this one, honestly, because it's like, what's your best advice for people who want to build a giant agentic infrastructure for their plugin teams? It's like, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
I think in some ways it's like, what's our best advice for solving customer problems with AI? That might be the best way to say it today. So, Ian, how about you first? What do you think? What's your best advice for folks who want to use AI to solve customer problems?
I mean, I still feel like I'm learning myself how to use it best. So I'm just going to share maybe less framed as advice and more just what I'm up to, which is we have a couple of skills in our team, which, running in Claude and Terminal, when you do troubleshooting with the help of AI, it actually, at the end of a session, it assesses what you corrected it, how you corrected it. It pulls those out of the transcript, and it actually creates updates to your various skills and your troubleshooting procedures for each thing. And it's like a internal documentation that we've always had, except now it's this like living document that Claude's updating 30, 40, 50 times a day. And like our translation to positive reviews out of support has never been better. And we're probably spending less time than we ever have doing the work. And I'm a little uncomfortable with it, to be honest, but it's just like the proof and the values are just there. So yeah, it's just, whatever, experiment broadly and be willing to trust the machine a little bit more than you're comfortable with is my advice. So.
I'll go next so that we save Drew the best for last. Honestly, if you're a product team and you've got like 5 support agents, my advice is don't follow Drew's path right now. You don't need to over-engineer a giant agentic system when you're a team of 5 because you just don't have the volume. That's not like, don't concern yourself with that. But I would spend real time doing what Ian was just talking about in terms of leveraging AI to empower your support team to do things faster. I also have been talking a lot with Katie, another co-host, about her support team. She's trying to leverage AI tools to empower her support team to do more, not only in the queue, but outside the queue as well. Your support team suddenly becomes like team members and assets that you can use throughout the whole business because honestly, they should be freed up from the queue more than they typically have been in the past. But that doesn't mean that you start laying people off. That means you get to actually beef up the value and the output of your whole team and do more than you ever have done before. And I think that that's a meaningful impact on the business overall. So thinking of AI as a new power tool that lets you do more with the same amount of resources that you have today. That's the way I think about it personally. So, Drew, what's your best advice for our audience who wants to use AI?
I think my best advice is to know what you want to accomplish. What's the outcome that you want to get out of the tool? So Ian, you mentioned like, hey, our responses are, are the review scores on our supports, like that's better than ever. You knew when you were going to be successful using AI to maybe drive an improvement in a process or something. And for us in this particular product, we knew that we wanted to at the beginning, it just started off with the technology. It's like, okay, right, we can do this. And it's like, okay, no, but what is the real customer outcome that we're going to get out of this? Is we wanted our sites to be up more. We wanted our sites that we host to have more site uptime. And so we knew what we wanted to get out of it, and then we could drive towards that. And with the data that we got out of it, the learning from the use cases, great. It was all in order to make sure that customers would experience less downtime for WordPress-related issues. And we knew we had an opportunity there because we had the data to support that. So for me, that's big. You can really drive a lot of impact. If you don't know where you're going or the outcome that you want, you might just end up doing some cool stuff with AI.
Yep.
And I just throw up Nick's comment quick too, because I think it's sort of, that wasn't what I fully thought I was saying, but I really like how you brought that home, Drew, which is a lot of the signals I used to use to show poor quality. Like a lot of my assumptions have to change. And I think having that core, this is like the primary metric, the primary and secondary metric, the measure of success that we care about, and just trust the tool to drive you towards it. I think that is probably, it's what you said, not what I said, but I'm going to go back and change mine to yours. I like that.
Nice. Cool, folks. Well, that is a wrap. Drew, thank you so much for being here and joining us today. Where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter, Drew B. Wilde, @DrewBWilde. That's a great one. Obviously, I also have LinkedIn. My name is actually James Andrew Wilde, and so people sometimes have a hard time finding me. But my parents always called me Drew, so I go by Drew. Twitter and LinkedIn would be the best places.
LinkedIn being so formal, jeez.
I know, it's like, ugh. But hey, Ian plugged LinkedIn at the beginning, so I said,
well, while you're following Drew on LinkedIn, make sure to hit up the WordPress Product Talk, the WP Product Talk page, like that too, for reasons that do not bother with them at all. Just do it. And then if you're YouTube, wherever, hit subscribe there as well. It supports us here. And thanks again to Freemius for supporting WP Product Talk as well.
Absolutely. Next week, we are on a WordCamp Europe hiatus. Next week is WordCamp Europe, and we're taking 2 weeks off. And we are, in the meantime, looking for new guests. So, Drew, who would you recommend? Who should we have on the show for sure?
That's a great question. I did not come prepared with an answer for that. Man, that caught me off guard. I certainly have very good friends like Mike Hansen.
Oh, yeah.
Newfold Bluehost. Yeah. That is very involved in the future of WordPress, on that side, that I think would be a great.
That's a good one. Mike's great. We have not had Mike on the show yet. So
he's done it all. He's done it all.
Yeah, that's true. Good one. And even, a frenemy in the space for you. That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. Group chats that we have still.
All right, folks. Well, have a good one. I hope to see you at WordCamp Europe, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a good one. Thanks.